To start up with, the world to start up with is a dangerous place, and for many African nations that already have national struggles, the threat from within and without is sometimes not as great as the threat that prevents growth, evolution, innovation and general improvement, all of which can be brought about by a bad reputation. In many nations around the world, protection of lives and property are the first things the government is responsible for, and in doing this, sometimes these nations battling bigger problems forget to invest in the general outlook of the nation to the international community. The Global Peace Index, GPI, measures the relative position of nations and region peacefulness. Now, the GPI ranked 163 independent states and territories according to their levels of peacefulness, and sadly, many of the African nations are ranked the lowest. Now, the GPI is a report produced by the Institute of Economics and Peace, International Institute of Economics and Peace, and developed in consultation with an international panel of peace experts from Peace Institute and think tanks with data collected and collated by Economist Intelligence Unit. The GPI gauges global peace using three broad themes: the level of societal safety, security, the extent of ongoing domestic and international conflicts, and the degree of militarization. Factors considered are both internal, such as levels of violence and the crime within the country, and external, such as military expenditure and wars. Since it appears to be such a formidable index that seems to explore all the relevant options, many take the index as the vital authority. These affect the level of success in the tourism industry of any nation ranked low. Now, take Nigeria, for instance. The 2018 index places her as number 148 out of 163 countries. Now, while some part of northern Nigeria, that is the northeast, and a few states in the south are from time to time embroiled in unrest like Boko Haram insurgency, the southwest and eastern part of the country remain relatively secure aside from the irregular bouts of controlled crimes. Now, the index also has no parameter to judge by region to region basis, and simply lumps the whole of the country together as one. The fact that a part of a country is unstable doesn't mean that the entire country is at war. Yes, African countries or African nations do have security challenges, but this peace index highlights mostly the bad and scares prospective tourists away. Their narrative paints only the negative and thereby deny these nations the income and improvement that tourism as an industry can bring to the nation. The bad press further hurts Africa's already endangered reputation. A fish cannot be judged in the same way that a lion will be. The two are fundamentally different. Comparing Africa to other nations and judging them by the same standard can only sabotage the little Africa has achieved and may even cause the continent to fail into further degradation. Already, associations and groups have begun to fight to counter the negative reputation, such as Index's Projects of Africa, and among them is the African Business Lawyers Club, the ABLC, the Association of African Lawyers. The association organizes annual conferences, for the 7th annual conference slated for the 18th of June. Development, the theme will be tourism, a vector for development of the continent, and is entitled The African Tourism, a Brightening Future. According to forecasts by the World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, the number of tourists visiting Africa is recorded at 57.8 million in 2016, could reach 134 million in 2030. The next 10 years could some 108 billion tourists are expected to travel each year, just over 1 in 5 people worldwide. According to UNWTO, and Africa can welcome a good number of tourists as long as they change the negative perception about the continent. Now, ABLC for this year will gather actors and experts from the sector around two panels to discuss the identification of tourism products and the related opportunities. The panels will point out ways to leverage these opportunities. The organization will look into the ABLC organizes the conference while considering the economic impact for government and their population, the issue of sustainable tourism that protects the environment in the cultural identity of the concerned countries would also be addressed. In spite of the truly laudable effort, though, African countries or African leaders, beg your pardon, have a duty to support each such initiative by educating the international community on the intricacies of the nation, creating means to judge Africa by standards that are fair to the continent. And with that, we've come to the end of this week's travel segment. Enjoy the rest of the viewing.